Hi, in this video we are going to look into how to create a very simple industry risk grade sheet. So essentially, if you are trying to communicate to some company in context of a report that you are placing across, where you need to do some level of industry analysis and you would like to keep it very simple, and in very simple words you would like to place across what's the uh, present context of the industry scenario. So this is a very simple sheet that you can uh, prepare, and you can place it across in your report that you are putting across to the person who is going to have a look at it, right? So if you see over here, as you get to see, there are certain parameters or aspects on which the industry analysis is done. As we get to see, the first one is macroeconomic scenario, the second is government regulations, the third is demand supply dynamics, fourth is competitive scenario, and the fifth one is financial risk, right? So separate scores are assigned to this broader heads. It you may take more and beyond to what's mentioned over here, but this, if these broader heads are covered, that's quite comprehensive, I should say, right? So then finally you get the final risk score and the industry risk grade. So I'll show it to you how the analysis is done. So if you go to this sheet consolidated, so as you see over here that this is in context of the industry which is dealing into zinc, right? So these are the broader heads, as I mentioned just now: macroeconomic scenario, government regulations, demand supply dynamics, competitive scenario, and financial risk, right? And there are certain subheads to it which are considered. So don't just think that these are the only ones that you can possibly take. It all depends on what is the level of analysis you are trying to do, what is the context that you are taking to analyze, and what is the extent of information that you can possibly source, and stuff like that, right? So as we see over here, in the context of macroeconomic scenario, we are looking at macroeconomic growth, interest rate, and foreign exchange. As far as government regulations are concerned, we are looking into duty structure and government initiatives. In context of demand supply dynamics, we are looking into demand growth, demand drivers, import export scenario, and price trends. We are also taking a look at the competitive scenario, and in context of financial risk, we are looking into cost structure and margins, right? So as you see over here, if you so whatever we are trying to analyze over here is placed across in this form of a spider chart, as we all know. So if you see over here, we are taking 1 as the most favorable figure, and 0 stands for neutral, and -1 is unfavorable. So that's the range in which we are working. So if you see over here, we have assigned different figures to different subheads, right? So it depends on the analysis. We are not discussing on that in this video. Here our focus is just to help you understand how a simple industry risk grade sheet is prepared, and how it can be comprehended to industry risk score, which can better be placed through the person concerned, so that it gets easy for that individual or organization to interpret, right? So as we see over here, these are the weightages of the subheads that's given. It may be something basis judgment that we have taken, that this can be the possible weights that can be assigned, or it may be in context of some statistical analysis of the past data that can be comprehended, right? So once you have those separate weightages, then you put those figures. As you see over here, this is within this range of 1 to -1, and once those weightages are placed, the figures are placed, and the weightages are assigned of the subheads, then the ones marked in yellow are the broader head weightages. So as you get to see over here, so if you want to understand how this figure is coming up, so it's basically the sum product of these figures along with these figures, right? So 50% into 1, 30% 0, 20% 0, 1. This is minus 0.40 is also calculated in this manner. So that's how it goes for all the broader head figure that you get to see, and these are the different weightages which are taken for the broader heads, right? There is an element of analysis adjustment which is also taken into consideration, so that it basically tries to take into consideration the figures around sentiments or certain specific information which is there with the analyst due to the level of analysis that has been undertaken, right? So once you get to analyze that, you then finally reach to this final risk score figure, as you get to see. So C4 into D4 is this figure into this, right? Then C11 into D11. That's how you do the computation, and there's a score that we finally reach, which is known as the final score. Then we have a structure which is called the industry risk grade structure. So say we assign 1 from 1 to 0.76, 2 as a grade for figures between 0.75 to 0.51, 3 to figures between 0.5 to 0.26, and like that, right? So that's how you create a sort of an industry risk grade structure. And once you go over here, you see that we use a VLOOKUP to ensure that the proper industry risk grade, as you get to see over here, the figure is 0.32, right? So it should ideally be somewhere between 0.5 and 0.26. So the industry risk grade should be 3, and that is what is getting represented over here. And this is done with the help of VLOOKUP in Excel, right? And that is how you get an industry risk grade. So overall, you give a risk grade, say of 3, which is coming over here, and you place it across with a spider web sheet, a spider web chart, as you see over here. So you can place this in the report that you are placing across. So in one snapshot, the person gets to understand that the industry risk grade is 3 over here, and these are the areas where the different broader heads of macroeconomic scenario, financial risk, government regulation, demand, supply, and competitive scenario is standing, right? So this is a sort of a structure that you can prepare to convey the standing of industry risk in context of the sources of information that you are applying in, right? So I hope it adds value to you, and if you are liking it, please give a like and share, and we'll see you in the next video, right? Thanks a lot.